We're back again. I think it's been like a month. I'm not positive though. Why, hello. We are back. It's the Friday Night Forum where we answer all of your real estate questions live. We've got April. Yes, our guest today. Oh, and we also got Arlene, the Realtor.
What's up?
Yes. Why, hello, everybody.
They missed us so much.
Yeah, we missed you. We had to take a couple weeks off. I turned a year older, and I was not spending the night doing this.
Another year wiser.
Yeah, another year wiser.
Yeah.
All right, well, hello, we are back. So if you got any questions, real estate related questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We got a few things for you guys that we want to go over today. Probably try to keep it under an hour, hopefully. We'll see. I know sometimes we go a little long, but
we're hungry.
We're hungry. Yeah.
Hangry.
We're hangry. As I told you, we didn't get the dinner that we were planning on doing today. You know, as I mentioned before, we were supposed to go to. We got no kids tonight. So the sister-in-law took the kids for the weekend, and we were trying to get those grinders from Salerno's here in Munson, but they had so many orders coming in that they closed us down. So we got to keep this to about an hour so that I can get April fed really well tonight.
Yeah, blame April. Blame her.
Yeah. Yeah. She's the only one that's hungry around here. All right, so let's get right into it. Right? Let's get right into it. I actually had something that I wanted to show. Let's see here. Bam. Let's see what we got here. The real cost of renting. So this actually came up on one of the forums. And we know obviously when you're renting, you're putting money into somebody else's mortgage, paying off their mortgage on their property. But it's kind of eye-opening when you actually look at the numbers, right?
Yeah.
In terms of what your rent is to the left, $500 rent, which we know nobody's got no $500 rent right now. But let's say your rent was $500.
I did see a multifamily that hit the market. They were actually at $400, and I had to go to the agent, and I was like, "Is that right? Did you make a mistake?" And they had been living there so long,
30 years probably.
The landlord never raised the rent. Yep. And I was like, nobody's going to buy this place. Nobody wants to. They're not going to evict the tenant. Or, yeah. I mean, even if you purchase the place and increase their rent, that's a dramatic increase to what market rent is. So, yeah.
It is. It can be a shocker. You know, we've seen that a lot in the past. Not as much nowadays, but definitely something that we come across where, a landlord essentially likes the tenant. Right. Yeah. So if they're concerned about raising the rent, because if they raise the rent and the tenant can no longer afford it, then, they risk losing the tenant, or the risk the tenant's falling behind. And then if they have to find somebody else, they don't know who they're getting. So yeah, I've seen that a lot, and they're paying half the amount than, what they would typically pay. It's typically an older person, right? That they're on a fixed budget, and again, they're trying to help them out. Or on the other end of that, we've seen where it's family members. Where you're giving a discount to a family member, like, hey, just kind of hooking them up, with the lower rent.
I'm not that nice to my family. I'd be like, you're paying full rent.
I'm not nice to family. But all right. So, but let's say right now, $1,000 rent, right? Do you think that's pretty reasonable to say that, it's not uncommon to be paying about $1,000 for rent these days?
Yeah, that's a 2-bedroom.
Yeah, right. So let's say you're paying $1,000, and you're saying, "Oh, I'm gonna not buy now," right? If you can afford to buy, and you're thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna not buy right now, and I'm gonna wait a few years." All right. So let's say you wait 5 years. You're gonna spend about $60,000 in rent for 5 years, right? So you're talking about $60,000 that is not giving you any type of return. It's not going towards any type of investment for the future. It's just paying somebody else's mortgage or going someone else's pocket. So $60,000. Now, if you're going to wait for the market to come around, you could potentially be losing money by waiting, right? Doesn't that make sense? So when you're buying, if you're going to be somewhere long term, it makes sense still to buy, because it's still cheaper, to purchase, for what you're going to spend. Right now for a single family, the other day, single family East Long Meadow was on for like $2,000 a month. 3-bedroom single family, you're probably going to pay close to that. And if you buy it, you're going to spend less than that, right?
Yeah. And we talked about it before, is that even though prices are going up and up, it's like, if it really depends, I guess, on what your long-term goals are. If you're planning to buy like your forever home, then it shouldn't really matter what the price is. But if you want to purchase a place and then sell in a couple of years, that's really, I don't know if that'll, if that's in your best interest. It's really about your goals, because right now I'm having a hard time convincing people to really purchase, because they think all of a sudden like the market's going to collapse and the house isn't going to be worth what they paid for it now. So and we've talked about it, and it's really tough to explain that no matter what, it's still better to buy, even if the price is
long term. Yeah, definitely. Because, again, like you said, it's that long term, plan. And we've talked about this before in terms of looking at a house as an investment. You shouldn't look at a house as an investment, in that sense of I've got to, investment in the sense of I got to buy it at a lower price than I'm going to sell it for, because there's value in use, right? So if you live in that property for, 30 years, as we saw in that, sheet there, you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on rent, living there for 30 years, as opposed to just putting it towards something and then again getting at least some sort of return, even if it's less than what you purchased it for. And again, you still had a value in the fact that you had a place to live all that time. There's still value in the fact that you got to choose what you were doing in that property. You want to redo that kitchen, or you want to use it or have a party or anything like that. I mean, that's all you, right? Whereas opposed to renting, you don't get those same liberties, right?
Yeah. And also for investment properties and things like that, like multifamilies. So in order for you to really make a lot of money, you have to own a lot of properties, especially these days. It's not just one multifamily is not going to make you rich. So you have to purchase multiple ones, and even single families, if that's the route you want to go. One property is likely not going to make you a ton of money in one lifetime.
No. I mean, it'll definitely help pay the bills.
Yeah.
But you ain't gonna retire on it.
You're not retiring on one multifamily.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's go into actually market updates, since it's been about a month since we've been in here. Let's see what's going on. Boom. All right. So we'll jump into Hampden County. All right. So we always like to do that 5-year review. Now, if we're looking, and actually we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally we don't go over all of Massachusetts, but we're going to do that as well. But just for Hampden County, listing units, again, versus 5 years ago, the available number of properties, we've got about a third. Right? I mean, much less properties on the market right now in Hampden County, 349 homes available today. The median days on the market is down to 18 as of today. It was 50 days just a few years ago, 2017. The median listing price is up to $289 right now. The approximate month's supply of inventory, we've got less than a month's supply of inventory. As we've always talked about before, we've been in a seller's market for a couple of years, but since last year, it's just kind of
that number's shooting up 0.94. Woo! I feel like we're on fire right now.
Oh, 0.94
compared to the 0.5 a few weeks ago.
Well, this is Hampden County. Hampden County wasn't down as bad as Springfield, but yeah, definitely, it's not as bad as it was before, and we're actually starting to see a slightly more houses on the market than what we saw like 2 months ago, which is good. But that's just, indicative of the time of year. People were putting their houses on the market because it was the end of school. People are trying to sell now for the transition over summer. Yeah, so there's a lot more going on there. But listing units taken year to date, 2,500. So we've actually taken more listings in the beginning of last year. But the beginning of last year, we had COVID that first half. So, we can't really count that. But if you compare it to previous years, we've got, less houses available, right? We've also got more houses or about the same number of houses going under contract. And in terms of sold, we've actually got about the same number of houses that are selling, right? So we've got a lot of houses still selling, not as many houses available, which again, supply and demand. That's why the prices are actually going up. Now, let's see here. Let's go over
this is Hamden. We usually do Springfield. Is that why the numbers seem so like?
Yeah. You're thinking of Springfield.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I mean, we can pull the Springfield numbers.
No, it's just the numbers just seem not what I've been looking at. So now I know. Before we were looking at Springfield.
Yep. So right now, Massachusetts, and this one I thought was really interesting because now we're talking about big numbers. We're talking about the overall state. Right. And so this kind of gives you a little bit of a different perspective. If we're looking at the available number of single family homes today, right now this is just the MLS. This is not all of the MLSs. As you know, there's multiple MLSs, but this is what MLS PIN has right now for Massachusetts. And that's 4,500 homes available today versus 12,000 properties that were available in 2017. Okay. And when we had those 12,000 properties, we were still in a seller's market, which is again, really hard to explain to people, why the prices and why the market is the way it is, because there's just not enough homes. Again, not enough homes, 4,500 homes available today for the same number of closings, that have been happening versus 2017 when we already had a strong seller's market, at that point.
Look at the median price. Is that average price? Average price.
Yeah. So average price in 2017 was $775,000. Again, this is for the state. The average price is now over $1 million in Massachusetts for a property. Place. Yeah, apparently living in the wrong location. But again, statewide, we're still dealing with severe lack of inventory. Again, we have less than a month's supply of inventory in the entire state of Massachusetts. So, what that means for those of you who don't remember this, is that if no new houses come on the market, all the properties will be sold in less than a month and there'll be no houses available. Okay, so again, that just shows you the type of market it was. When we had 2.73 months supply, was still a very strong seller's market. So now that we've got, again, less than a month's supply, even stronger. All right, so the other thing is, again, that's sold. We've got more houses that sold versus last year. But again, last year's, kind of an anomaly because of COVID. But if you look at the number of houses that have actually sold, we've sold more than all of those years in the last 5 years. So again, it's very strong market, lots of demand, not enough houses. Can't explain it any other way than that, right? Do you have any other way you can explain it?
No.
April, any other way? No, supply and demand. And demand.
That's lots of buyers, and I think that's hard for people to understand. You say low inventories, like houses are hitting the market, but there's just so many buyers. They're going so fast. The interest rates are still wicked low, and people are motivated more now. I think I'm seeing
they definitely are. So, that being the case, this is something we were doing the video on about the biggest advice for buyers today.
Yeah.
And what again is the biggest advice that you would give a buyer right now?
Be patient. Patience is key.
That's it?
I have a whole lot of things I could say. But
why be patient?
I mean, that when I meet with somebody, the first thing I say is, we have to be ready. You have to be as ready as possible, know what your numbers are. And you have to know them, like before you even walk in a house, you have to know what you're willing to spend on this house. You have to know like how much cash you have. You have to have your pre-approval. Absolutely. And it's funny because I've had people call me and they'd want to see a place, and I'd be like, "Are you pre-approved?" And they're like, "No, when I find the right house, I'll do it." And I was like, "That is not how it works." I mean, even when the market was not as hectic, that's not how it works. It's, houses move so fast. And as we saw, it's been a seller's market for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
So it's being ready and being patient.
Yeah, be patient. That is definitely the number one piece of advice that we can give people right now. Because like, as you said, ton of competition. Don't get frustrated over having to see a lot of houses. Don't get frustrated over having to make multiple offers, because those that are patient are the ones that are eventually seeing success for a couple of reasons. The more swings you get at it, right, the higher your chances are. But more than that, the more houses you see, the better educated you are when it comes to how much you or how confident you are to make an offer, or how much you're willing to pay on something, right? Yeah. Once you've seen enough houses and you see that they've sold for above whatever it is that you're offering on something, and you finally find the property that you absolutely love or you absolutely have to have, you're going to have that much more confidence to make a very strong offer on that property. And you're going to know that it's a good offer based on everything else that you've seen and everything else that you've actually been through. And
that's so true. So like I'm about to put an offer in tonight for somebody that has put in multiple offers on different properties. And today we saw a house. I was like, this is going to sell really fast. And when I told her how much over she should probably go, she didn't even flinch. She was like, all right, let's do it. Obviously there's no guarantee. I wish I could guarantee that it would work, but she had experience, going 5,000 over, even 10. And it was just like, you're not competing.
Not enough.
And then I tell her this, she's like, let's do it. So you can't look at the list price and weigh your decision off that list price. It has to be what it's worth to you. A lot of, you have to, and that's where a good agent comes into play, is to talk out like, how much is it worth to you? Not necessarily in terms of dollars, because in the end it's your decision, the buyer's decision, but we can kind of help you knock out those points. Like, hey, it has the number of bedrooms you want. It's in the neighborhood you want. You can see yourself like growing old with your family here. Like, and then with that, then you put a number to it.
Yeah. And we can give you a range, of other comparable homes in terms of what they're sold for. But, anytime I'm doing a CMA or coming up with the pricing with the seller or any type of client, I'm giving them a range. Right. This is the range in terms of what the house is worth, because again, it might be worth more to you than somebody else. Mm-hmm. In terms of, some buyers have trouble with the mentality of, I can only offer a certain amount over the asking price. Mm-hmm. But the issue there is, what if you're assuming that they priced the house perfectly? And I can tell you, I've seen many a home priced above and well below mm-hmm. what we think the market actually is going to bring. So, it's nice to have, or it's good to have an agent that's going to help you in terms of coming up with at least that general ballpark range. And then you as the buyer, as like you said, if you've seen enough houses, you decide, what is it worth to you? Mm-hmm. Right? What's it worth to you? And a lot of times when we're talking about that range, we're not telling you, what it's even going to sell for, because that we're just telling you based on the comps what these other houses have sold for. Because as you've seen in this market, we've seen people pay above appraisals. We've seen people pay far above that, what you would expect mm-hmm. based on what the comparables are actually telling you. So that actually brings us on to the next thing I wanted to do today, was what did it sell for? Now this was a couple of these listings. Let's go over a couple of some houses that we've closed on recently. Now I want to give you an idea of how these played out. So if you're a buyer and you're watching this, it just kind of gives you an idea of how some of this stuff plays out. They don't all work out the same, but at least gives you, again, a general idea that if you have an agent that's going to guide you through this, at least you have a general idea of how you can work this out. And also, understand why possibly your offer wasn't accepted if you made an offer on something. Okay. So this is actually a property we just closed on this a couple weeks ago, middle of June. So this one we had actually talked about. Actually, did we talk about this on the forum? Maybe we didn't talk about this property. You know, I'm mixing up our office meetings with the forum. I know we had talked about this in the office meeting. Yeah, so essentially when we listed this on the market, I believe we had, I want to say it was 17 offers that we had on the property. Came on the market. We had a lot of showings on this thing. It's a 2-bedroom ranch slab and 16 acres. You know, really good condition. You know, again, decent condition, carpets, you know, nice little property, great location. Now, when we put this on, again, we had a ton of showings. I think we had over 30 showings over a couple of days. We had an open house. And again, we ended up with, I want to say it was 17 offers. Now, we did have cash offers on this. Interestingly enough, the cash offer was the lowest offer on the property, and that was at the 190 that we were asking. Now, when we listed it at the 190, we had actually compared it to other houses, and we thought the 190 was kind of on the high end for what we could probably list it for. But again, knowing the market, we weren't sure how much it was actually going to pop up. So we ended up with a bunch of offers. We had offers at 190, 195, 200, 205, then from there to 210, 215, 220, and then we had 2 offers at 224. I believe, 224 on this property. Now, the one of the 224 offers was asking for $5,000 back in closing costs. The other one did not need any closing costs. So obviously that was the better offer. It was FHA. And with that, you know, the seller understood that at the 224, we thought that the house wasn't going to appraise. And as you can see, in terms of the actual closing price, we didn't close at the 224, which is, again, we had 3 offers above what this actually closed at. And the reason we ended up at the 214 is because it didn't appraise. So it was very important when we reviewed the offers to understand that, one, if it, you know, we really didn't want to take an offer with closing costs, because again, if we ended up falling short on the appraisal, we knew the buyer was going to need that still. And then 2, with it going FHA, we did have some conventional offers, which were, I think there was at the 215. But you know, we figured it was worth taking the risk at the higher price. You know, to go with FHA, because we didn't feel like there was going to be any FHA issues, and there were none. So this ended up closing at $214,000.
Are you seeing? I just had an FHA appraisal. I was expecting some stuff to pop up. Nothing. I was like completely, like, I was waiting for it. I was ready. Like, and I didn't think it was going to be anything major. But I don't know. I don't know about you. I haven't seen anything major popping up for FHA. No. I've definitely been seeing stuff slide more than what it used to. Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's that through COVID, we were seeing a lot of just exterior appraisals. I actually had a recent property. It was a conventional appraisal, but they only did a drive-by appraisal. And actually that was this property right here. So I just closed on this last week, I think it was. So 23 Farmington Street. So we actually, this is the buyer that I was working with. We ended up in a multiple offer situation for this property. I want to say there was 8 offers. It was either 6 or 8, but again, there was multiple offers on the property. Oh, my camera fell out, didn't it? Yeah, it did. You can still hear me though, right?
Yeah. They can just look at me while you do that.
Yeah,
I can still see the screen too.
You can still see the screen-ish, right? Hold on, let me just do this. But anyways, we ended up with multiple offers on this thing. And we actually had to go to 266, I believe we were at, in order to get it under contract. Now, after we put it under contract, we ended up with some issues on an inspection. So we negotiated a credit back from the seller towards closing costs. Now, originally the credit was going to be like $6,500, and that was at the 266. So the seller was getting a good price on that. But I actually had an idea that the house might not appraise, and that's kind of why we were pushing the buyer to get the credit as opposed to doing the repairs, because we figured the credit could come off of the appraisal amount if we ended up with the shortage. So the property didn't appraise, right? It actually appraised at 255. Not the 266 that we were under contract for. And then we ended up still getting a closing cost credit of $3,500 on the property instead of the $6,500. The seller didn't want to give us the full credit because of the loss, but we were still able to get something. The buyer was very happy because the original offer, we actually had no closing costs. Yeah. So in this case, we were able to close on this $16,000, right? $16,000 over the asking price and getting a closing cost credit back from the sellers. So again, this is a possible way of how you can actually get this done. Now, that other house that I actually was just trying to show you was, where's Boston Road? Here we go. So we just closed on this one. So this was a pretty interesting one. 230, we closed $55,000 over the asking price. So this is a Wilbraham property, $55,000 over the asking price.
You were the buyer's agent?
Yeah. So I was the buyer's agent on this one. So what was really important on this one, we ended up in a multiple offer situation, and we knew the offers were going way up. I CMA'd this house. I priced this property out. Mm-hmm. Yes, appraisers are very overworked. Definitely very overworked. I priced this property out when I did my CMA at 285. And when we were making the offer, the buyer basically told me, I want the house. I'm willing to pay whatever, right? I'm willing to pay whatever. Just, how much do we need to go? Yeah, I'm just willing to pay it because I want to. And so should we go 20, 30, 40? Like, what are we thinking? Now, I did my CMA and I'm like, I think this thing is worth 285, around 280, 285, right around there. And so we ended up putting the bid in for that price. We ended up putting in also a contingency because the seller was concerned about taking our offer just because the offer was so high, and she did have some other offers that were pretty strong, and she was concerned about, well, it's not going to appraise. It's not going to appraise. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it will appraise. But that being the case, the buyer actually agreed to pay a portion over the appraisal as part of the offer. So we put that in there, and we actually got it to appraise at 280. So they did pay a little bit over the appraisal in order to make it happen. Because again, they put that in there in order to secure the deal in the beginning. But we were very confident that the property was going to actually appraise at or close to the purchase price. So again, this appraised at 280. What was awesome about this one was that the buyer got a absolutely brand new septic system as part of the deal. They actually installed it as a 3-bedroom system. So even though he was buying a 2-bedroom house, he's got a 3-bedroom septic system now at the property, and he's got enough square footage there. He could potentially do a 3rd bedroom, which could potentially increase the value of the property. So, even though he's again paid top value just over that appraisal, he's still getting a long-term property where he can do a lot of stuff over here. So that's nice.
Well, good job on that one.
Yeah. Good job on that one. Good job on that one.
Yes.
So, all right. So here was another one that we just closed on recently as well. So this was, I did a little live on this one. We ended up with 14 offers on this property, multiple offers. We actually accepted an offer lower than the top offers. Right. And let's say I had a similar situation, 50K over asking, appraisal came in 10K over that. Woo! Yes. Those CMAs for buyers are very, very important. Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because I actually just recently had I got a property under contract right now, FHA, where we got it under contract with the closing cost credit back and the property appraised above what we were getting it for. So then we went ahead and increased the price to then increase the credit because the buyer decided they wanted more cash back, and the seller's doing repairs. It's not impossible, folks, to make it happen. All right. So this was 32 Northbrook. This is one of our listings. This was another multiple offer, 15 plus offers on this thing. So we actually had a lot of FHA offers on this property. But the seller was in a situation where she absolutely did not want to do a single thing. She wanted no, variables in terms of what could possibly come up on an appraisal. The house overall on the interior was actually pretty good condition, very well kept. Some stuff going on in the basement, a little older, paneling and stuff like that. You could probably redo that. But the big issue on the property was the siding. The siding actually needed to be completely redone. And she didn't want to re-side it. Now we had multiple offers at 200 and actually one at 205 that was asking for a closing cost credit back. But the seller decided that was going to be too risky to go for one of those properties. She ended up taking a conventional offer on this thing at the 185 and it appraised at the 185. Concerned about the appraisal being short on the higher offers, asking for closing cost credit. This offer was just stronger overall. Was not the highest offer, folks. Okay. Again, the highest offer is not always the one that's accepted. The seller's looking for the best terms. Okay. The best terms. And in this case, that ended up being the best terms on the property. All right. Let's see what else here. So here was another one that we just closed on. Where is it? Hartford Terrace. So this is actually East Forest Park. This was another property, very important that we did a CMA on this one. Buyer had made a couple of offers. When I CMA'd this property, I was thinking at least 210. Right around there, 205 to 210 at least. It was listed at 179.9, so 180. So we knew it was going to go over the asking price. Buyer, again, I want this property. He went ahead and made the offer at 215, just above what we thought, it could potentially go for. And it actually appraised. Again, multiple offer situation. If you're going that high over the asking price, again, you want to make sure that there's some sort of pricing done, some sort of CMA done by your agent, so that at least you're in the range in terms of what it could potentially go for. And as a seller, very important, obviously, because they could have offered $300,000 on this house, and just because someone's offering that high doesn't mean you should take that offer. All right. Let's end that right there. So what else you got?
So much. It's just, I've had people just tell me, it seems like the market is slowing up and all that. I was like, we're seeing a lull, but it's like the little lull, like a little dip. And, we talked about earlier, cool. Like it's a time of year when, everyone's vacationing, everyone's taking a break. People that have been searching for houses for a while just need to just take those few minutes off. And I think I'm guessing by August, like to mid-August, we're really going to see things pick up at, right before school starts again. And then I don't see it really slowing down after that.
No. We never slowed down over the winter, like we normally do. We slowed down for like a week right around the holidays. Yeah. But we stayed busy throughout. We usually have a lot more slowdown over the winter months, but again, we had so much extra demand, so many leftover buyers that were still looking, that it just kind of didn't really slow down. Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of just tired, burnt out. Soon as school broke or school got out, people wanted to break on vacation. Yeah. We went away for a couple of days. It rained and we were like, we're going away again. And we're like, I feel you. I was gone too. I was like, I golfed a lot. I was like, I need a break. I golfed so much, my elbow started to hurt. I needed a break. So is that golfer's elbow or is that still tennis elbow?
I don't know. I'll call it golfer's elbow, but
Golfer's
that told me
elbow.
I had a little problem. But I got rained out the last few times I wanted to play, so it gave me some, gave me a break. But ready to do it again.
So, all right. So the only other thing I had on the list here, and we can even, this could be a whole different thing too. We had talked about doing some stuff on the printed and the unfoldable houses.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was listening. Was I listening to something? It might have been something I was reading. And just in terms of like what could disrupt the market right now, right? Because we've got a ton of buyers out there right now, not enough houses. So there's either one, I think, interest rates, if rates drastically change, but if they slowly change, I don't see it again that being like a huge disruptor. But I think, with the way that we already know that we're going to be short in terms of what we can do to build to keep up with our demand right now, that some of these technologies coming across may be the thing that disrupts us and that saves us at the same time, right? And then that was it. It was the basic point of the post was that let's say we all of a sudden have an explosion of this opportunity where printed houses we can start printing them like that, like we're just busting them out, and they end up being that much cheaper. Could that basically crash the market, or could that basically make older homes less valuable? Or is that almost like a mobile home in a sense where it's like not really like, well, it's not the same as a, you know what I'm saying? Like a brick or wood built home. I don't know.
So I posted an article today on my Facebook, and we talked about this a few shows ago, that we are about like 5.5 million houses behind on inventory. And it would take us, even if we added 500,000 houses to what we're currently doing per year, it would still take us 10 years to catch up. If you were to add this new technology to print houses, and when you say, it's funny because you say print houses, like I'm sure most people are getting that visual of like a printer, but it's legit, like it's a massive printer, but they're using cement throughout the house. It's just it's a different technology. But even if we were to do that, it's still going to take years for us to catch up. It's not something that one day this new technology is going to come out and everyone's going to accept it. That's the other part is this technology could exist, but do you know how long it takes us to accept anything? It takes people a long time. People are not going to trust it for a while. And then on top of that, you're going to have these massive construction companies that are going to lobby against it because it's going to it's going to disrupt their business. So you're going to have the politics involved in this, which right now is not a huge deal because it's not a real, it's still in its infancy. But we're going to see another decade of people trying to bash this new technology, even if it works. So,
yeah.
I thought.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I think people are a lot more receptive to new technologies and new things these days, especially since, what other options do you have?
I don't know. There's a lot of things going on.
There's not enough houses, right?
There's a lot of things that make sense, that are common sense, that people fight against. So it's like, it's like, obviously we need to fix it, but we need people to be open. I think the majority of people would be open to a new technology, but it's the people that are against it, have the louder voices and are scream the loudest, and that are the ones that are resistant and will create that resistance to actually make things better. And we see it every day. We see it in our government every day. Things that make sense should be passing, but they don't, because you have the idiots that, and I should not keep talking about it, but you know what I mean. I gotcha. It's like common sense doesn't always rule. So
all right, so hold on. Here's the what about these ones? Have you seen these? hold on here. Have you seen these?
No.
Unfoldable properties. So they build all in factory.
Yeah.
And then it just comes out and everything unfolds. So they're talking about being able to produce these.
See, to me, that's more like the affordable housing kind of concept. The houses that we really, I mean, obviously we need more affordable housing, of course. But that construction of the bigger, I don't know how they would do that on a bigger scale.
Well, from what I understand, these are like modular units that can be connected. So they have like basic ones that they're almost like not like Legos, but like interchangeable pieces. So you can
like our high school used to be. Remember that?
You mentioned, I think somebody made a post. Was it today? About how we were in modular. Was that the modulars? Yeah. So
I mean,
basically, you can connect it where like one wall comes off, and then you connect two together, and then you could connect them in different ways, right? So you're not necessarily reinventing the builds. So you have this basic piece that you can create larger things. Now, it's not as unique in terms of the outside fee. It's a box. You're not doing, super, unique designs and stuff like that. But again, we're trying to deal with a basic need. I think small home communities are definitely something that we're going to start to see more of, or hopefully we will, especially with some of the zoning reforms, happening. I think there's a big demand for, small homes, small lots, easy maintenance, walkable communities and stuff like that. And I think there's a couple places that are, we're kind of primed and thinking about doing it.
And it's a slow process. Like I was saying, it was like with the government and having to loosen up the restrictions and that takes time. So, I mean, we might be working towards it now, but it's not something that's happening overnight. And we're going to continue to see this crisis for the years to come. Unless something massively changes in a short period of time. Hola.
I right before we got on, I was like, I should have asked my mom to be on tonight to go over some of those listings that we just sold too, so she could give you some of the perspectives. So we're actually going to have to do another one to have her come on soon. She's got a few new listings coming up. We listed 3 houses last week, all multiple offers, crazy, all well above the asking prices. We'll see what they end up closing at, but it's crazy out there. So, all right, we're at 45 minutes.
We said we'll keep it short.
What? We're keeping it short, and I think this was a nice, decent amount of time. Right? April's got a little smile.
She's ready to eat. That's why she's like,
hungry.
We're closer to food. Okay.
Hungry. Well, we disappointed that we didn't get our grinders today. I will still say Salerno's and Munson, some of the best freaking grinders.
Salerno's Taste of Philadelphia.
Taste of Philadelphia.
If they're that packed, they couldn't even take your order.
Yeah. What's kind of messed up too is that one of my closes that I just had, I was having a conversation with my buyer about this play. Actually, Salerno is about, because we're talking about different sandwich shops all over the place or whatever. And I'm like, you got to check this place out. So I was going to drop off some grinders to him in the next couple days, but they're closed now. But I'm like, damn, I'm gonna have to wait to bring them to him.
And then he's gonna be like, what's this?
Well, it'll be like 2 weeks after his closing, but whatever. It'll give me a reason to stop by. But they're that good that I'm gonna give them out as a gift. Is basically what I'm saying. So, funny. All right, if you're ever in Munson, check it out, and we're actually gonna go get ourselves some food. So, all right, guys.
Sounds good.
Any questions in the future? You know how to reach us at HeSellsHouses, at Arlene the Realtor. Call, text, schedule something on the website. Yes, have company, but yes, let's talk about multiple offers next time. We will be talking about that. I'll get you on, Mom, for the one of the next forums, and then we will take it from there. Everybody, enjoy your evenings.
Peace.